This is The Thought Experiment. I'm Daniel, and welcome back to The Thought Experiment. This is the show where we take one impossible question, treat it completely seriously, and follow it as far as the real science will go.
And I'm Maya. Every episode we take a single what if and follow it honestly, all the way down through everything it would change. Today, the question is simple. What if the Earth just stopped spinning?
Right now, without feeling a thing, you are moving. At the equator, the Earth spins at about 1,670 kilometers an hour. Faster than a jetliner. You cannot feel it, because everything around you moves with you. Now picture it slowing down and stopping.
If it stopped in an instant, it would be the worst day in history. Everything not bolted to bedrock, the air, the oceans, you, would keep racing east at that same speed. So we will be kinder. We will bring the Earth to rest gently over years and follow exactly what a world without spin becomes.
This is The Thought Experiment, where we take one impossible question and follow it honestly, all the way down. Today, we switch off the most constant motion in your life, the one you have never once felt, because the spin of the Earth is doing far more than you think.
First, why you cannot feel it. The Earth spins at a steady rate, and steady motion feels like no motion at all, the same way a smooth plane at cruising speed feels still. One full turn is what we call a day. The sun does not really cross the sky. You turn to face it, then away. It is the simplest and most reliable motion in your entire life, and it is the only reason there is such a thing as a day at all. And your speed depends on where you stand. On the equator, you are flung around the widest circle, about 1,670 kilometers an hour. In London or New York, nearer 1,000. And if you stood exactly on the North Pole, you would simply turn on the spot, going nowhere at all.
So we ease the brakes on. Over years, the turning slows. And the very first thing to change is the thing we built our whole lives around. Not the weather, not the sea. The day itself begins to stretch.
The sun crawls slower and slower across the sky. A day that was 24 hours becomes a week, then a month. And when the Earth finally comes to rest relative to the stars, one day and night stretches to fill an entire year. 6 months of daylight, 6 months of dark.
Here is the moment everything turns on. With no spin, the sun no longer rises and sets each day. As the Earth slowly orbits, one whole side faces the sun for months and bakes, while the other faces away for months and freezes. A single, year-long day, and it breaks the planet open.
Because spin does something you would never guess. It holds the oceans in place. The Earth bulges at the equator, fat around the middle, flung outward by the turning. The seas are pulled into that bulge. Stop the spin, and that grip lets go. The water begins to flow toward the poles, not as a single wave, but as a slow, unstoppable leaning of the entire ocean away from the middle of the world. Given time, the single connected ocean drains away from the middle of the planet and gathers into two enormous seas, one capping the north, one capping the south. And between them, where the deepest water used to be, dry land rises into the light, a continuous belt of new continent, wrapping the entire equator.
The map of the world is redrawn completely. A single megacontinent circles the globe at the waist, and two great oceans sit at the top and bottom of the planet. Every coastline humanity has ever known is gone, replaced by a geography no living thing has ever seen.
The cities pay for it first. Some at the poles vanish beneath the rising new seas, but many more are left stranded, their harbors now hundreds of kilometers from any water, marooned on the dry floor of an ocean that has quietly walked away to the ends of the Earth.
Then the air. The spin of the Earth bends every wind that blows, steering the trade winds, curling the great storms, driving the jet streams that carry our weather around the world. That bending force is called the Coriolis effect, and without spin, it simply switches off.
In its place, a simpler and more brutal weather machine takes over. Air rises off the baking day side, rushes around to the frozen night side, and falls. Winds would blow not east to west, but straight from the hot face of the world to the cold one, in enormous, relentless currents. Storms would no longer wind themselves into the familiar spirals we track on every weather map. The whole grammar of the sky would be rewritten.
If you laid the new day out as a clock, it would be unrecognizable. 3 months of climbing, ferocious heat. 3 months of cooling dusk. 3 months of deep, freezing night. 3 months of slow dawn. 1 sunrise, 1 sunset in an entire year. And there may be a deeper loss, harder to see. Deep inside the earth, an ocean of molten iron churns, and its motion generates our magnetic field, the invisible shield that deflects the solar wind. The planet's spin helps organize that churning.
Weaken the spin, and over very long timescales the field could fade. With the shield down, the solar wind would slowly strip the upper atmosphere away, particle by particle. It is the story we read on Mars, a world that lost its field and then lost most of its air.
Now here, we have to be honest, because the science is genuinely open. How much the magnetic field really depends on spin is still debated, and any stripping would take an enormous span of time. So radiation is not what gets us quickly. What gets us quickly is the heat, the cold, and the wind. Those arrive in months, not in ages, and they are far more than enough to end the world we know.
On the day side, the sun simply never sets. For months it hangs there, pouring heat into the ground with nothing to carry it away. Soil bakes to dust, lakes and rivers boil off, and the land becomes an oven that will not switch off until the slow turn of the year finally drags the sun down.
Between the burning day and the frozen night runs a thin band of permanent twilight, a ribbon of perpetual dawn. And because the planet still drifts slowly around the sun, that gentle, survivable ribbon would creep right around the world once a year.
And that is where life would have to go. Anything that survived would cluster in that moving band of twilight, chasing the only livable temperature on the planet as it crawled around the globe. A slow, endless migration, always walking toward the dawn, never able to stop.
Think about what that does to time itself. A day would last a year. Your birthday, once a full lap around the sun, would line up with a single sunrise. You could live an entire human life and watch the sun come up only 80 times.
And notice, the Earth has not truly gone still. It has only stopped turning on its axis. It still sweeps around the sun once a year. That orbit is the only thing left moving the sun across the sky at all. The spin is gone, but the journey around our star goes on.
So this is the new normal. A planet of fierce extremes, with frozen seas at the poles and a baked, dry continent round the middle, and life, if any remains, pressed into a thin, wandering line of dawn. A living world, technically, but barely, and certainly not for us. A few hardy microbes clinging to the twilight, perhaps, on a planet that became a monument to how much one quiet motion was holding together. And here is the turn. All of this, the seas in the right places, the winds that carry rain, the gentle swing of warm day into cool night, perhaps even the shield over our heads. All of it traces back to one quiet fact we never think about. The Earth turns.
Every weather system that has ever brought you rain, every ocean current that carries warmth from the tropics to the poles, the very shape of the seas and the rhythm of the seasons. They are all downstream of that single turning, an invisible engine running under everything.
We owe the gentle in and out of day and night, the mild and livable temperatures, the moving air and water that make this a living world, to emotions so steady and so silent that not one of us has ever felt it for a single second of our lives.
Left alone for the far future, this stopped world would settle into that strange balance, half in endless fire, half in endless ice, with a single glowing seam of life between. A planet still turning around its star, but no longer turning for itself.
So, come back to right now, to this perfectly ordinary moment, because the strangest part of all of this is not the frozen seas or the year-long day. It is that the motion behind every bit of it is happening to you, this second, and you feel completely still.
Here's the thing I love about it. Every sunrise you have ever watched, the sun did not actually climb anything. You were turning. The ground under you swung you back around to face the star at hundreds of kilometers an hour and tipped your little patch of the world into the light. The horizon dropped away beneath the sun. The sun never lifted at all. It has been you, turning the whole time.
The sunrise over your city, the long shadows of the evening, the simple fact that the day ends and lets you sleep. All of it is the planet carrying you, turning you away from the sun and patiently back toward it, one steady revolution at a time.
And while it carries you, it is doing all that other quiet work, bending the winds that bring your weather, steering the currents that set your climate, holding the oceans in their basins, the most important machine on Earth, and it never once asks to be noticed.
We even measure out our whole lives by it. We count our days, and a day is simply one turn. Every deadline, every anniversary, every ordinary tomorrow, all of them are just the Earth, turning you once more around to meet the morning. So here is the thought to sit with. The spin of the Earth is the most constant motion in your entire life, and it is the one motion you will never, ever feel. It asks nothing of you. It only keeps the day coming.
We tend to think of the ground beneath us as the very definition of stillness. Solid, unmoving, the thing you stand on when everything else is in motion. When in truth, it is the fastest, most faithful ride any of us will ever take.
And it does so much at once. It sets the clock of every living thing. It moves the water and stirs the air. It may even help hold the thin shield of sky that keeps us all alive. All of it, from one silent turn.
The good news, of course, is that the Earth is not going to stop. It has been turning for 4.5 billion years, and it will keep turning long after all of us. But the fact that it does, so steadily that we forget it entirely, is quietly extraordinary.
So the next time the sun comes up, try to feel it the other way around. The sun did not rise. You did. You were carried east at 1,000 miles an hour and lifted gently into the light, the way you have been every single morning of your life. And that is the real thought experiment. Not whether the Earth could ever stop, but whether we can learn to notice the motion that makes every ordinary day, the turning we owe everything to and feel nothing of. So keep turning with it and keep looking up. This has been the thought experiment. One impossible question, followed all the way down. We will see you on the next turn of the world. That is where we will leave it for today. Thank you for thinking it through with us.
If you like taking big questions seriously, subscribe and follow along with new episodes twice a week. This has been The Thought Experiment, and we will see you on the next turn of the world.